From Nextthink and the creators of the Dex show, it's Parallel. One IT story told week by week. Because technology problems don't happen in isolation or by themselves. They happen in parallel. I'm Tim Flower. Last week, we uncovered an invisible hand. A saboteur leaving undocumented changes and phantom scripts, wreaking havoc at Zentech. The team is continuing to look for more clues, but as often happens in IT, they've been pulled into yet another issue that's been plaguing them for years. So we're shifting our focus to tell the story of something much quieter, something insidious even. It's not a rogue script, it's not a disgruntled ex-employee, it's something much harder to pin down. Complacency. When people stop fighting back against the problems that plague them, what happens? For Zentech, it turned into a storm of security risks, failed patches, and crashing systems. And the trail led to a surprising culprit, the reboot button. When the Dex team analyzed Zentech's systems, they found something they knew existed, but never knew the scope. A surprisingly large number of devices hadn't been rebooted in weeks, some in months. And this was information they never would have had visibility into prior to having a Dex discipline. At first, it seemed like a coincidence, but the pattern was far too consistent to ignore.
There is just so much data available nowadays, so we really rely on the AI components of our Dex platform to help us get to what really matters most. And what we found was that these devices, they all had failed patches, uninstalled updates, and resource usage that was off the charts, which didn't make much sense to us until the system correlated the symptoms to reboot data. People had just stopped rebooting. And maybe that's because we used to be so annoying about reminding everybody to do it, whether they needed to or not. So we'd just become a sort of background noise that they'd started to ignore, and they'd just stopped doing it.
But why? Why would anyone avoid such a simple action? The answer turned out to be frustratingly human. It wasn't that employees didn't know how to reboot their machines, or even that they needed to. It was that they didn't want to. Rebooting had become a nightmare.
If I reboot, I know I'm going to lose at least 10 minutes waiting for the system to restart, log me back in, and eventually allow me to start working again. That's time I don't have. It's easier to just leave it running.
And it wasn't just the login time. Employees described a cascade of frustrations. Apps taking forever to reload, browser tabs disappearing, and re-entering passwords for every system they used. One employee called it the reboot tax. Another called it soul-crushing.
Oof, you stop caring. You figure, what's the worst that could happen? It's just one bad day, right? Except a day turns into a week, then a month, and suddenly IT's yelling at you because your system's out of date and out of compliance.
The reboot tax. It was more than just an annoyance. It was creating a domino effect. Devices that weren't rebooted couldn't install updates or patches, leaving them vulnerable to security threats. Overloaded memory led to system crashes. And in the past, when employees were forced to reboot, it often happened at the worst possible time, like during a client presentation.
It's not just a productivity issue. It's a stability issue, a security issue. And it's not just the employees who suffer. The entire organization is at risk. And when we become the bad guys, we're either being a nuisance to them or the reason the problem isn't solved yet.
But here's the thing. The problem wasn't just the employees. It was the system they were stuck in. Over time, the employees at Zentech had become resigned to the way things were. They weren't lazy or negligent. They were just exhausted.
You just stop hoping things will get better. It's like, why bother? IT doesn't fix it. Management doesn't care. So you do what you can to get through the day. And if that means never rebooting your machine, so be it.
The Dex team realized this was more than a technical issue. It was cultural. Employees didn't see the value in rebooting because no one had shown them the value. And IT wasn't helping. In fact, IT was making things worse by force-fitting a bad solution and then ignoring the problem to let the help desk handle it.
We thought it was a behavior issue, like employees, just need to do better. But when we saw the login times, the crashes, the amount of friction they were dealing with, we realized it was on us. We weren't giving them a system they could trust.
To fix the problem, the DEX team didn't just tell employees to reboot. They rebuilt the whole reboot experience. First, they cut login times in half by analyzing boot-up sequences and automating much of the processing. Once they had their full set of robust findings, they removed unnecessary startup items and streamlined authentication. And then they optimized GPO and startup script processing to minimize impact. And finally, they launched a campaign to show employees how rebooting wasn't just about keeping their devices running smoothly, it was about protecting the company as a whole. And the automated processes included reminders, so they didn't go more than a week in between reboots. And the icing on the cake? They also included reminders for passwords that were about to expire and hard drives that were about to fill up. They automated their entire maintenance task list, involving the employees only when they absolutely needed to.
So we showed them the numbers, how failed patches were leaving the company open to ransomware attacks, how unoptimized devices were costing however many thousands in lost productivity, and how a very simple reboot could prevent it all. That's when the behavior finally started to shift.
But as Zentech celebrated their victory over the reboot resistance, new questions began to surface. Questions about the deeper systems that had created this problem in the first place.
Listen, this isn't just a Zentech issue. It's everywhere you look. Companies have been treating the reboot as an afterthought for decades because it's such a hot potato. And the longer they ignore it, the more problems pile up because of it. It's not just rebooting, it's everything. It's about the culture.
And then there was this, a new finding that was previously missed in the middle of all this noise. This time buried in the complexity of the VDI platform, flagged after the reboot of thousands of sessions. A long idle virtual session named the Foundation. Tune in next time on Parallel, where we continue to search for answers about who or what the Foundation is, and how far does their influence reach. We'll dig deeper into the shadowy forces shaping workplace technology and why they were now being found in VDI.